Hey, everybody. I am delighted to have with me today Sandy Cleary from Back to Heart Center. And Sandy is a Reiki practitioner, and we might even say here in the West, although she uh, says only in the West would we call her a master Reiki practitioner, but she's at the top of her game. And welcome, Sandy Cleary. Hi, good to have you.
Hi, Cheryl. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
You are welcome. And I invited you here today because of course I've had personal experience with your practice and I'm so impressed with how you work and what Reiki does for me as well as others. So I want I'm hoping that you introduce yourself a little bit, maybe how you became a Reiki practitioner and your interests and all of that. But also, we'll be talking about what is Reiki and how can it help my audience, whether it's people who are the caregivers themselves or maybe the people they're caring for. Or whatever emotion is going on, including those who grieve and just life in general. So tell us a little bit about you. You're in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, right?
Right,
And
that's right. And my daughter and I run a small Reiki studio called Back to Heart Center. And I discovered the hands-on healing art of Reiki when I was really down and out. I had been working, way overworking, single mom, two kids, full-time job, lots of demands, lots of rock bottom burnouts. And I discovered Reiki in a traditional setting. My regular therapist um, started to use Reiki in her sessions, and she asked me if I would essentially be her guinea pig. So we moved from the chair to the massage table where I would lie down during our sessions and receive Reiki while we talked about issues and stuff going on in my life. And it was at that point that I started getting a lot better. And I couldn't really pinpoint anything else I was doing in my life except the addition of Reiki to my accelerated mental, emotional, physical health. That just everything started getting better. Um, and so I became very curious about Reiki because I felt the effects of it in my life, on my daily life. And, fast forward to years later, I just decided to take a Reiki class, and it really made sense to me. And so I started my own practice, private practice of Reiki, which is, I'll go into that in a second, and eventually decided to deepen my commitment and extend it to other people. Um, so, what is Reiki, right? Reiki is a light touch, hands on Japanese system of healing that originated in the last century, the turn of the last century, and sort of migrated to the West in the 30s. And when it did, it changed a lot, and it has changed a lot since then. It's gotten layered in with all sorts of other healing practices like massage therapy and crystals, and it's gotten a little bit of a reputation for being a little woo-woo, shall we say? And not that it doesn't have certain aspects of woo to it, but the way I practice it is really as closely as I can to the original Japanese practice, which is grounded, practical, and effective. It's the Rei and Reiki can mean a lot of things. It can mean spiritual, as translated from the Japanese, spiritual, universal, intelligent, effective, divinely guided, if you will. And ki is chi. It's like life force energy. It's the same in Japanese and Chinese. So when we put Rei and ki together, we get this mysterious guided, intelligent, effective life force energy, a spiritual energy, an ineffable kind of thing. But the harnessing of that energy, the current, if you will, that animates all life, the harnessing of that, the directing of that, and the application of that is what Reiki, the practice, the hands-on healing art of Reiki is all about.
Oh, Sandy, that leads me into the next question. The woo and the mystery of it. But on the other hand, and not that we'll get into this, but it really has been scientifically proven to be effective, and that we are connected through molecules and atoms even over a long distance, and that's not woo woo, right? That's real.
That's real. Yeah. And as a practitioner, that is where I'm a very grounded, practical, normal person. And that is where the practice makes sense to me. We are all connected. The atoms and molecules from where I am to where you are, Cheryl, they're touching, right? And there is energy that flows through all of it. So it's not such a leap of faith. It's not that hard to say everything is connected. And goodness knows things work that we can't see, right? Wi-Fi, photosynthesis, microwaves, the list goes on, really. And so if those things are effective and work, why isn't Reiki one of those things, right? To me, it is, obviously. So I hope that gives a fairly clear idea of what the practice is. As a practitioner, I practice Reiki every day on myself. Reiki is it's a practice. It's also a healing art, and it's also an energy. So it's Reiki is all those three things. But when we talk about a Reiki session, what you're entering into is someone who is a Reiki practitioner practicing Reiki on you, sharing Reiki essentially with you.
Tuning into the client's personal energy and connecting with that. So there's a tremendous amount of focus and making a very clear connection.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely that. But it's important to note that because you have Reiki and I have Reiki, right? The animating life force is Reiki. So we all have it. So as a practitioner, when I put my hands on someone, I am not imposing my will on that person. I'm not trying to heal that person. I am simply acting as a conduit for this energy to flow. And the energy flows meeting the person's energy system and essentially balancing it, relaxing it, optimizing it. Reiki flows in and it meets the client where the client needs to be met. So there's no diagnosis, there's no imposition of me into that session. I just let it flow, create the container, let the Reiki do its thing.
That helps a lot to say, I create the container.
Yeah.
You make it.
So does the client by consenting, essentially. So we enter into this, what I call this Reiki state, right? Where optimal relaxation and the body's natural restorative responses, the natural healing responses of the body are allowed to take the stage. And this is really why Reiki is so effective and is used in hospitals and clinics, and now even in operating rooms, which I find fascinating, all over the country, is that it really accelerates the healing process in ways that can augment other modalities, of course, so from the stitching of broken bones to you know, helping sleep and anxiety, Reiki has so many applications because it works through our energy, through our body, through our nervous system, through, it works through all our whole being, really, and doesn't parse it out in any way. It treats the whole person.
Oh, I love this. I could, we have a very short time, but I could talk about this for hours.
Me
uh,
too.
Talk a little bit about what a client might expect when they come to your studio or with any Reiki practitioner. And then I also want to talk about, the possibility of what happens if they can't come to your studio. But anyway, what does a client and what should they anticipate when they see a Reiki practitioner?
Well, every Reiki practitioner is going to be really different one from the next. I can tell you that. There are many, many branches on the Reiki tree. Um, most Reiki practitioners are in a long line of Reiki practitioners. It's a lineage-based system. So most of us who are practicing seriously and exclusively Reiki can trace our lineage back to its founder, Usui Mikao, at the turn of the last century in Japan. But every Reiki practitioner is different. But I certainly can tell you, if you come to see me, that the first thing we'll do is we sit down and talk, and we just, check in and see what's going on emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, on all levels. Where where are you in your life, and what brings you to Reiki? That's really the most important thing. Do I need to know any of these things as a Reiki practitioner? Not really. But I find that, having a moment to connect at the beginning of a session and just sit down and have a cup of tea or a glass of water is a nice way to start a session. And then we transition to the massage table. The client is fully clothed, faced up, blankets, pillows, whatever makes the coziest, most relaxing space, perhaps an eye pillow to really just relax. And then the client really has to do nothing. And I put on some meditation music. Sessions are about 40 minutes long. I start with the traditional, there's a traditional set of hand positions on the body, starting with the head and then over the face, the ears, over the shoulders, the chest, abdomen, lower abdomen, hips, knees, ankles, feet. That all takes about 45 minutes. So the hand positions are held gently for a long period of time, allowing me as a practitioner to focus on allowing the Reiki to stream into the person's body and energy system. And throughout the session, people can experience any number of things. Some people fall asleep, which is totally fine. I always consider that a compliment. Really, if I've just met someone and they fall asleep in a foreign place on a massage table, I think that's pretty incredible. Um, some people experience energy moving through their body. They, tingling, heat, cool sensations, cool breezes. Some people just float in that liminal state, sort of between sleeping and dreaming. And so they can have sort of light dreams that they remember. Some people twitch, sometimes we all do when we're falling asleep involuntarily. We have these twitches. That's not uncommon on the Reiki table at all. But mostly people just deeply, deeply relax in a way that is not like getting massage, and it's not like falling asleep or taking a nap. It's a different kind of sensation, which I'm sure you can attest to, Cheryl. So that, this is the state, this very relaxed state where the nervous system recedes and the rest and restore response begins. And after about 45 minutes, I'll gently bring the person back to the room, give them all the time they need. Again, we sit down, have a glass of water, and any impressions that I've had. Typically, I do get impressions as to where the energy streaming into the body. Sometimes I have um, impressions that sometimes I can feel if a person is having emotional turmoil or joy, or there are many emotions that I can feel, and they're not my own because I sort of experience them like clouds passing across the sun. And we'll check in about those too sometimes, if applicable, if that's come up, and then address any questions or impressions that the client had as well, and just sort of talk things through. And that's pretty much it. Most people find it deeply relaxing, really bringing them back to themselves, back to a sense of center, back to a sense of balance. And, you know, just like any other therapeutic modality, Reiki it's really wonderful if it's relatively frequently applied. So it's
Partly
nice.
because it's not earth shaking. It is, a little over time. I mean, sometimes people try it once and it's like, well, that was really nice, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'm coming back. But
Right. No major light bulbs or, lightning bolts or anything like that.
if people do consider it, is to give it a chance, like any practice or any modality of
Yeah.
healing. You need
Yeah.
a chance.
Yeah.
Um, and
Many of my regular clients, uh, it took 4 or 5 sessions for them to really understand what the Reiki was doing for them. And it's such a wide range of things. Someone comes to me with sciatica and they're limping and they're in a lot of pain. Can Reiki help? Yes. I've had great one-off sessions where the person walks away and doesn't come back, and says, I
yeah,
went on my vacation. It was great. I had my sciatica was you cured me. I mean, like that's very rare, right? But this mostly those kind of, you know, quick transformations, so sort of quantum healing moments, if you will. I, those are rare, but healing does happen more gently, like an unfolding or a releasing of pain from the body over 4 or 5 sessions or more, depending on how long the person has had that, um, you know,
that whole
carrying that around. How long have we been carrying stuff around? Because for some of us, it depends how old we are too, like if we've had conditions that have been ongoing for a long time, those can take a long time to undo. Um, so Reiki, repeat regular Reiki sessions can have huge, huge benefit. And I'm like a walking poster child for that, because it totally did that for me.
Sandy, I want to touch on the idea of, my audience who are watching this and listening, and they're like, wow, uh, because we're able to connect or use this energy across distance. Could you talk to us a little bit about being able to work on people, from here to Pennsylvania or here to anywhere,
Sure.
possible? And and again, people need to give it a chance, right? I mean, anyway, go ahead, describe that and your experience. And
Sure. I have to preface that talking about what we call remote or distance Reiki with saying that I was probably one of the biggest skeptics of this practice. It is a part of the essential practice of Japanese Reiki. The action of sending Reiki over distance to another person. Um, and it was only by having to practice it in order to get my certification that I came to understand its effectiveness. And so now I do offer it, not because it makes sense, but because it's effective. So, I mean, and to me, it does make sense and has come to make sense over time. And it gets back to what we were talking about earlier, Cheryl, which is we're all connected. You know, if you're in Philadelphia and I'm in New York City or whatever, we still can trace a line, right? Through all that is. And my practice is that I have learned through the system of Reiki from my teachers a practice of how to forge that connection, how to make that connection, how to turn that on. And what can I say? I do now do distance Reiki sessions all the time. They're extremely effective. And for me as a practitioner, connecting through the sort of invisible realms, I feel really silly even saying that, but we can't see it. So is even more palpable on my end sometimes than when I'm physically present with someone. So over time, over the past many years, I've been practicing distance Reiki. I have a very clear sense of where the Reiki's going in a person's energy system and their body, what it's doing sometimes. And I can report back on that, which I literally do with written reports after every session. So a distance session is exactly the same as an in-person session. We check in over Zoom. The session goes on for about 40 minutes. We check back in afterwards. And I'm working with some people right now with chronic illness who are having some real relief from regular Reiki sessions. So I encourage everybody to, as I have had to do, suspend their disbelief and give it a try if they're even curious. And also, I'm happy to talk to anybody about any of this at any time. So,
Yes, Sandy. Yes.
just don't hesitate. You want to ask the hard questions, I'm here for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Be a perfect place to begin to wind up and tell us, how can people get in touch? How can they ask more questions of you? Go ahead.
Sure. You can reach out to me by email at info@backtoheartcenter.com. You can go to our website. Okay, there's a lot of information there. There's an interesting blog post I wrote on distance Reiki there, on the Reiki page. And I also welcome anybody to call the studio too. The number is 413-200-2801. Yeah, 413-200-2801. And you'll get the voicemail and leave a message, and I'll call you back.
That is on your website, which again is
Yeah.
backcenter.com. Yeah, Sandy, I just want to thank you so much for, your clear and humble in your approach. I mean, it just I hope that people watching will be at least more curious than ever, and that they realize that this really is an option, a real option for
Yeah. And I'd love to just add one thing specifically for your audience, and that is that I've been a caregiver twice in my life so far. It's probably not the last time. And I saw my ex-husband through a year and a half of cancer treatment when also I had two little kids at the time. And also, for 4 years, very recently was the primary caretaker for my daughter, who had very debilitating, life-threatening neurological Lyme. And so, part of how I came to Reiki and part of what Reiki's done for me as a caregiver is nourish me and give me compassion for myself and my own struggles. And in nourishing me, made me a better caregiver too, because you can't give from an empty cup. You can't, I'm sure that's something everybody says a lot, but it's been very true for me that nourishing myself has actually been the greatest avenue to my ability to nourish others. And Reiki has given me that 100%.
Thank you for adding that. That's so beautiful. Well, Sandy, thank you, and thank you again. And we'll talk soon.
Yeah, let's do it again.